This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley here with the Matt Williamson, as we are every day, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And Matt, not all that long after the show ended yesterday, we get news that the Rams are going to try to trade Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. And I would be interested.
Yeah. The Steelers are one of the favorites to potentially acquire Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, you can check in Vegas, and it's the Bengals and Steelers are the lowest odds.
Yeah. We were kind of going back and forth yesterday or last night about what we thought it might take to acquire a Cooper Kupp. And to be quite honest, I don't think it's going to be much.
That's the beauty of it. I wouldn't offer a lot, but I think it's going to be very similar to the Allen Robinson trade with the Rams, which sort of worked out, sort of didn't. I think Kupp's a better player than Robinson was at that point, but in terms of
Kupp's also making more money.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he equally needs to go from a Rams perspective. Nakua is clearly the one. He really came on even stronger in his second year. And I think Kupp has value. I know he's older and he's expensive, but that's why you get him cheap.
I also think, you're going to – whoever trades for him, if that happens, the Rams are going to end up having to eat some of that salary.
I would imagine, yeah.
Otherwise, you would just wait about and say, no, you got to cut him.
As I said, they're probably on the cusp of cutting him.
Yeah.
Right. So I think he's like a seventh-round pick or 2 7s or something. Not much.
And you get him for $12 million or 14, somewhere in that range. And that might sound like a lot, and
Which
it is.
That's why you're getting him so cheap.
Yeah.
That's why he's not a third-round pick.
But when you start looking at the free agent wide receivers who are currently scheduled to be free agents, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Darius Slayton, Elijah Moore, Mike Williams, Nelson Aguilar. I don't need to go much farther down than that.
No, right. Be a great list in 2022.
Right, yeah.
Or 2021, right?
Where does Kupp come in among that group?
Head of Hopkins.
Yeah, I agree.
Him versus Cooper's a tough one because he did nothing with the Bills. Probably in that neighborhood. Not the top 2.
Yeah.
But he'd be in contention. I don't think the Steelers would be into Hollywood Brown, but I might have Brown 3.
I don't know what to think of Stephon Diggs either.
The injury too.
Some
of these are tough evals.
Yeah, coming off an ACL.
But he'd be right in the mix with the tier 2 guys.
Yeah.
Even as a declining player, he's had some injuries and he's had some expensive, and he's not as crisp as he used to be or as sharp or as explosive. And he's had a lot of wear and tear. But part of it's because of his style of play. He's such a good blocker, and he's a big physical, slot guy that can also play outside. I think there's a value there.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think there's also a value there in adding an adult to the room.
Exactly.
A guy who has been, a
consummate professional.
Yeah, a guy who's had 100-catch seasons, a guy who's been the
Triple Crown.
Yeah. 145 catches and almost 2,000 yards with 16 touchdowns in 2021. Even you look at his 2022, 75 catches in 9 games.
Yeah. He tore it up and then got hurt, right.
Even last year.
What was last year's like?
He played in 12 games, started 11 of them, had 100 targets, 67 catches for 710 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. He was on pace for 1,100-ish, something like that if he'd have played a ball.
So...
No, I think he's still good. I don't think he's one of the top 10 receivers in the league anymore. He's definitely better than the Steelers' number 2 last year. And
he's different.
He's different for sure too.
Yeah,
and then Austin, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's different than what you have. He's a chain mover, and you really didn't have that guy.
No, and I do think he would be Allen Robinson plus as a blocker.
I think
Robinson did really well.
I think some of that would kind of rub off on the other guys too.
You would hope. You would hope, right? The way he prepares and all that kind of stuff.
When you watch Ben Skoranek play, Ben Skoranek played for the Rams behind Cooper Kupp and was asked to do a lot of the same stuff that Cooper Kupp did. That's why Ben Skoranek blocks as well as he does.
Same with Nakua.
Yeah,
Nakua is a great
They picked
blocker,
that up for them. So if you're going to go draft one of these guys, let's say it is a Jack Betch in the second round or something like that.
Who's also very similar.
Who's a similar type receiver. Get him a guy he can learn from.
Yeah.
or the kid from Stanford or whoever.
I mean, as of now, it's Pickens, Austin, and Wilson is your receiver room. And they're going to add 2 of some sort. And I would think one's a veteran and one's a rookie.
Yeah.
It's a good
You may add 3. You may have 6.
You might add 3. And if Pickens leaves, you probably will add 3,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it's a move you got to at least kick around. The Steelers don't have a 6th-round pick. I don't think I'd give up a 5. But if it's both 7s or a 6 next year or something like that.
A conditional, it's a 7 now, but if he plays in 16 games, it turns into a 6 next year.
I mean, even if you eat all the money, I think he's making 12.5 this year.
Yeah, there's some bonus money.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, he's got a $7.5 million roster bonus.
Okay.
That's due, so that's going to bump that up even more.
I mean, he's almost a $30 million cap hit to the Rams.
Yeah, he's got it on
and they picked up some of the Robinson money.
March 15th, he gets that $7.5 million roster bonus, and everything becomes fully guaranteed.
So he's definitely not going to be a Ram on March 15th.
No.
I mean, that's what's going to happen in the next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll either get cut or he'll be
And you
traded.
could wait it out, but then you also get into bidding with other teams for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you still might. I mean, there's probably several teams that would give you a 7th-round pick for him right now. I don't know. I think the Steelers should be in the thick of it. And Vegas knows a thing or two. The fact that they're the odds-on favorite, along with the Bengals.
I think
they're
Vegas,
also not huge.
Vegas is guessing on that stuff because they know that the Steelers have been in the market for basically every wide receiver that's been available. So,
and it's not like
they have inside information.
It's not like they pay way more than the second-best team, by the way, either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they're number 1, but that doesn't mean th're tied with the Bengals. I mean, plus 500 or whatever.
Because the Bengals are expected to lose T. Higgins.
Right. But there's a bunch of plus 600s, too. I think they want you to bet, obviously.
Right.
But I do think the Steelers should be in it and would be crazy not to call about them.
Yeah, I mean, you at least have those conversations and say, okay, I'm sure there were conversations at midseason when there was rumors that he would be available at the trade deadline.
And then they went on a winning streak.
So maybe
guys weren't it.
Maybe you had some of those conversations already. Or maybe, if you're the Steelers, do you wait for, example, a Christian Kirk to get cut loose?
You could do both.
You could.
I mean, you could do both. Or Devontae Adams to get cut loose is the prize. I mean, in terms of guys that could get cut. There's a lot of trade candidates, too. DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of guys. I think there's going to be a lot of receiver movement this year. And some of it's trade because the UFA market isn't great, as you mentioned. And the draft class is a little down compared to previous years. There's not a Harrison Neighbors at the top or a get a McConkey on day 2. But it's a good class.
Would you, if you're the Steelers, since I just brought him up, there were reports that there was a trade in place for Christian Kirk at midseason, and then he got hurt.
Right.
Would you reopen that and say, "Hey, we're still interested. If you're going to cut him, if you're going to move on from him, we'll give you a 7 for him."
Yeah, I don't remember what his injury was, and when it was. I mean, it was right at the deadline.
It was right at the deadline.
So it was like halfway through the year. I would say, was it a catastrophic Achilles or something? I don't
broken
remember.
collarbone.
Oh,
So,
okay, he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
So he's fine. I'd probably rather have Kupp, but I think they're close. Kirk's got to be a little younger, right?
He's actually several years younger.
Yeah. I like both. Both options would be interesting to me. Kirk's also a professional and plays hard and inside-outside capabilities. Tough. Will block a little bit. Kupp's bigger. Kupp's had a better career. I have to study both their tapes to say who's better right this second. I mean, neither one – or Kirk was not flourishing statistically, but neither was anyone in the Jags offense at that point.
He had some games. There was a stretch there before he had 8 catches against the Bills. He had 7 catches against the Texans the next week. Then 4 for 88 against the Colts, 3 for 39 against Chicago, and then that's when the trade talks kind of started, and Brian Thomas started to really emerge. But, I mean, he's
between Thomas and Ingram, and they like Parker Washington, they could easily draft another one, too. I would think Kirk could be had pretty cheap.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about he's going to be 29 next year as opposed to 32.
What's he listed? Like 5'11",
5'11", 200, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm guessing, pretty round ballpark numbers, but yeah, I knew he was a little under 6 feet.
And the other difference is his contract. I mean, he signed it was a 4-year, $72 million deal in Jacksonville. His base contract this year is $15.5. that's all you would owe.
That's all you'd go, which is, again, you'd get him for like a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, both would be of interest. And I wouldn't be done.
Right.
That doesn't like solve your problems, but it's a nice step in the right direction.
Better.
It makes it a lot better.
It makes your situation a lot better.
And if you are intent on trading Pickens, which I don't know if they are or not, sure makes it easier.
Yeah. At least you've got a guy in the building who,
and you could still compete on the UFA market, or turn Pickens into picks, No, I think all these moves make a ton of sense, Kupp or Kirk.
Yeah. And there's some other guys who will be, you mentioned Devontae Adams, but I just think, to me, a trade makes a little bit more sense as opposed to waiting.
A late-round pick trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've done, how many mock drafts have we done now already?
Quite a few, yeah.
And those late-round draft picks were like, all right, just
give me somebody. Give me a safety
somebody that's going to play special teams or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. And the Rams are presumably the Jags just want something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people are going to be like, I'll give you a 5. No, I'll give you a 4. No, I'll give you a 3. I don't think that's what happens.
And I think a lot of times fans in the media both kind of overestimate what the trade market is going to be.
Big time.
For some guys.
Especially wide receivers. They're always on the move.
Yeah. And he's definitely worth a 2. Maybe not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, even like the Fields trade was less than everybody thought.
You didn't get a 2 for Antonio Brown.
Right. I mean, draft picks are worth. Maybe it's just draft picks are worth more than people realize.
Yeah.
Draft picks are gold. I mean, I threw the Kupp thing out on Twitter, and I got a lot of responses. Why do you want to get older? I'm like, it's just one player. I mean, so
the idea is to get better.
I'm trying to get better. I mean, you're the same guys complaining that the receiver room's not good enough, and they don't get any.
And this goes to what we were talking about yesterday, with people looking at the NFL in the wrong fashion when it comes to long term. What's short term and what's long term?
Yeah.
Players now are signed to 2-year deals.
Yeah. Is Kupp up after this year?
He's up after 2026.
Okay, so that'd be basically a 2-year deal. Yeah. 25, 26. But I'm sure you could cut him after 25. Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't pay any signing bonus.
You're not on the hook.
You can easily get out of that. And that's the other thing that makes a trade much more attractive than going out and actually signing a guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you trade for the guy, you didn't pay any of his signing bonus.
Somebody else did all the heavy lifting.
You're just paying the base salary. Now, if you want to tear that up and start over with the guy, okay.
You have that right.
You have that right to do that. You have the option to do that.
With Devontae Adams.
Right.
I mean, that could happen. Rodgers could come back, and maybe he doesn't get cut.
Yeah.
But, right now he's a $30 million cap hit.
It just gives you more options.
Yeah. And we talked about this yesterday, too. It doesn't hurt your comp game.
No, not at all.
Right. It's just, okay, a throwaway 7th-round pick, fine.
I mean, maybe, if he leaves at the end of the year or whatever it may be, you get the comp pick back, potentially.
You're basically just swapping out cap space for a 7th-round pick. We have more cap space than you. We have a bigger need there than you. Let's go,
Yeah. And get better.
And you get better, right.
This is the game, this is the dance that the Steelers did all last season, trying to acquire someone of this ilk, whether it be Cooper Kupp, whether it be Christian Kirk, whether it be anybody.
I mean, Ayuk's name was thrown out a million times, of course. It's just a starting receiver.
Trying to make your team better.
Yeah. And it might have a ripple effect. I mean, again, of teaching the younger pups in that room and maybe a draft pick as well. No, I think it's something that would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But there's probably 10 other teams that think the same.
That's the problem, and that's why you don't want to necessarily let these guys get cut, because now you are in a bidding war, and they get to choose where they go.
Yeah.
And even though the money might be the same, they might look at it and go, well, yeah, but I want to stay in the West Coast if I'm Cooper Kupp.
Sure.
So I'm going to go to
right. I'll go to the Raiders or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Raiders instead because I want to stay on this. And I've always played out here. Whereas if you trade for the guy,
you got him.
You got him unless he decides to retire.
Mm-hmm. No, again, I think it's a very good move, and it'd be step one of building a better receiver room. And you're already, I don't think anybody would argue that Pickens, Kupp, Wilson, Austin is better than what you played with last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, assuming he can stay on the field, then Wilson we'll see. I mean, but he's in the mix now.
You're still going to draft one, so
you're going to add at least another, right?
Yeah, even if Kupp plays the first 7 games of the season and gets hurt, well, at least you get the 7 games out of him, and you allow your rookie to.
You could still sign Devontae Adams or even a Slayton or Kirk. I mean, you can make 2 of these type of moves.
you've got the roster space or the cap space to do this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's the appeal. Is we got a lot of space. We can handle a contract we don't love, but we can handle it.
But it's easy to get out of too. Mm-hmm. That's the other beauty of it, because you don't owe anything long term with this.
And some of these dudes, probably not in Kupp's case, but he could come to camp and be terrible, and you could cut him too.
Yeah. I mean, okay, right. you gave up a 7th-round pick.
So be it. Move on, right?
Yeah. It's just it is what it is, but I mean, his cap hit for the Rams this year is $29.7 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got to go.
He's got to go. That's what it's the same as last year. That's why they're looking to move him, because we can't pay him 10.8% of our salary cap.
No, and he's still a good player, but he's not the number one receiver, and he's older, and they know his injury history and all that stuff too, which isn't extensive. Well, it's sort of extensive, but I mean, they know what he probably has left, and it's not $30 million worth, but it might be.
I can't think of too many receivers who would be $30 million. Right. There's like 5.
That might be what Higgins gets on the open market, maybe.
But we'll see. For them, it's just a simple matter of math for them. Like, look, we can either have Cooper Kupp on the roster, or we can have these 5 guys, these 5 players.
Sure, that's because 3 starters on defense and a backup O lineman or something, right? Exactly, and they'll draft one.
Whereas if you're looking at this through a Steelers lens, it's okay. If they pick up 10 of it, and if you're the Rams, why wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. It's $10 million versus 29, 30,
right? Yeah,
and you're getting a pick out of it. Okay, well, it's either that or we cut him and we get nothing. All right.
Yeah. No, I think it makes all the sense in the world. It's similar to the Allen Robinson Rams situation, but I think he's better and a rung above him.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's interesting, to say the least.
It is.
Something else that was interesting today, Matt, was the Jerry Dulac story in the Post-Gazette. We will talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive. And Matt, I mentioned, referenced the Jerry Dulac piece in the Post-Gazette today, or on the Post-Gazette website. I don't see the paper anymore, but I do see the website every once in a while. And
friend of the show, Jerry Dulac, right?
Yeah. And what Jerry reported is a little bit different than what was previously reported. And this kind of jibes more in line. The initial reports after the season, and I believe it came from Mark Kabuli, Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith just didn't get along.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. But they did see things differently in terms of what the Steelers' offense should look like in regards to Russell Wilson wanted to be able to run more audibles.
Okay.
And Arthur Smith, apparently, this according to Jerry's report, said, no, we're not going to audible.
Okay.
And I just edited your offensive stat package last night. The Steelers ran into loaded boxes. A lot.
Yeah, too much. I don't understand it from a coaching perspective, to be honest with you. Now, I'll be the first to say, in the 32 rooms, how many of them are heavily audibled or none or only in this situation? But I thought the beauty of Russell Wilson compared to Fields was getting out of bad plays.
Right.
And
the story also went on to say that, and I noted this after that game, the game in Cincinnati, when Wilson threw for gajillion yards.
Yeah, right.
They put up all kinds of points.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch that tape, you see a lot of Russell Wilson directing traffic.
Right.
Moving guys around and
something he's always been good at.
Changing plays.
Right.
And apparently, this according to the Dulac piece, after that game, Arthur Smith said, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Which I would love to hear the Smith side of it, because he probably has a great argument.
Sure.
That
he didn't do it for no reason.
Right. We have a really young O-line, and they block wrong when we go to audibles. I don't know. Receivers don't run the right route. I'm just making stuff up as I go.
Those are all legitimate reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can understand they didn't let Pickett or Duck or Fields or younger dudes. But if you're going to get Wilson, you got to use him from the neck up in every way possible, in my opinion, or figure out a way to make it work.
I wonder if some of it was because of who they were then playing and what they were doing without those guys, because if you think about it, that also coincided with when they lost George Pickens.
Oh, I thought you meant the opponent.
Well, to a certain degree,
who they were tougher ones. Right.
They were playing more difficult opponents.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have George Pickens for those 3 games.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he just said, you know what? We got to play this more close to the vest. We don't have our most explosive weapon, our best offensive weapon. But
is that even playing it closer to the vest? I mean, to me, it's just not putting yourself in the best situations to win. And running into loaded boxes isn't great, but you can have success doing it too. You know, I mean, you're going to have one unblocked defender, and that's the running backs guy. I mean, if it's 2 unblocked defenders, best of luck. And obviously, you can't blow a block then either. You know, I mean, it's just your room for error is a lot less. I don't understand it. I mean, I would think, frankly, if I'm Wilson and the Steelers are talking to me right now, I'd like to iron this out right now.
That's one of the things that you do talk about. And I'm sure that was something that was brought up in his exit interview with Mike Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, we had success when I was changing plays.
Which
one of the reasons you brought me. And the thing that makes me think of this is if you rewatch the last Hard Knocks, the last one that featured the Steelers, the playoff game against the Ravens.
Yes.
It's 14-0 at the half.
20, things aren't going
21-0 at the half. And they show Tomlin and Russell Wilson on the sideline right before the Steelers go out on offense. And Tomlin just said, hey, we got to attack now. We got to attack now. And it just makes me wonder why. And I remember thinking this, and why aren't they attacking down the field more? Why aren't they doing some of the things that got them to this point
that Wilson's good at?
Yeah. Because are they afraid that there's going to be an interception? Or are they afraid they're going to? You can't play it too close to the vest in those situations. You have to play loose. And if that's what your quarterback does well, let him play.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't know if that comes from Tomlin. Does it come from Smith?
And that's what we don't know.
Right. Is there more to the story than we don't know? I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Is it because your center's a rookie? Or I don't know. I don't know. And again, I can certainly understand it.
Well, your line was banged up
years.
At that point. I mean, well, we know that we've got 2 guys that are banged up, and they're not going to be able to hold the block. Things of that nature.
But, I mean, if you see blitz coming and you stick with a long-developing play, you're begging for problems. You know, I mean, obviously protections have hot routes built in, but if you see something coming and you can get out of it, or, boy, this is going to turn into cover 2 and I got a cover 2 beater in the back of my back pocket, use it, especially with a veteran guy like that.
Yeah.
He's not dumb. I mean, he's not inexperienced. I mean, these are his best traits.
These are the reasons that you signed him and brought him in, because we want the experienced quarterback. We want to be able to do these things. And then if you didn't let him do those things, yes, I can understand where there would be some friction there between the two.
Don't keep me, harnessed here, because I know I'm running into a bad play. I mean, that has to be very frustrating for a quarterback.
Yeah. And I also, again, I would love to hear the explanation for that.
And maybe it was a one-time thing, or in this situation we can't audible, or third downs only, or I don't know. But I do think it's noteworthy and certainly needs to be ironed out. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that the 2 men don't like each other.
No.
Or any of that stuff. But this is a competitive business, and things don't go well. Hey, I know that this could be better,
Right. And, ultimately, as the quarterback, you're the guy who's out there. You're the guy, as it turns out, who's being blamed for the Steelers' failure down the stretch. I'm looking at the comments on our YouTube channel today, and I can't tell you how many. Well, they lost their last 5 games with Russ. He stinks.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because it was all his fault. Because he gave up 300 rushing yards in the playoffs.
He couldn't tackle Derrick Henry or whatever, too.
That was on him.
Yeah. Now, he played better before that than after. And it would be a much easier decision if he played like he played that Bengals game every time he walked strapped on a helmet.
Absolutely.
He'd probably be signed as we speak, but,
He did show that capability. This is what people forget. He showed that capability.
Yeah, and there was a nice stretch there before things went bad for the whole team, without question. But I don't know how, and I don't know how much, of course. I mean, we're talking in gray area here. You can't keep him handcuffed, though. In terms of, getting out of plays and things like that.
Yeah, you got to let him play the game.
Right. I mean, they didn't do it to Ben.
No.
In
fact, if anything, the complaint was always when they won, it was because Ben called the play. When they didn't win, it's because they
dumb offensive coordinator.
They don't know what they're doing.
Right. So
when they had any kind of success, and hey, Ben was the first one to say, "Yeah, I drew that up in the dirt."
Oh,
All right, Ben.
Sure he did, right. And frankly, and I think people know this, I mean, well, I hope they do. You and I are close to the team, and we have a better inclination than 99% of the people listening, but we still don't know. You know, I mean, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, or situational stuff, or, you know, it's a group project, or it's rarely just one guy's fault. You know?
And the thing about audibles is this.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime the quarterback audibles, unless you got Ben saying he drew something up in the dirt,
But
the quarterback is audibling to plays that he and the offensive coordinator have already talked about.
yeah. And even drawing something up in the dirt is funny to me. It's not run down to the Toyota and run a button hook, you know, like us in the street. I mean, it's, hey, that comeback one step shorter because they're playing it a little bit more, or run your out route a little deeper.
Give me a little bit more depth at the sideline there, so I have a little more room to make that throw.
Exactly. Or boy, they're really sitting on this. You know, I mean, that's drawing it up in the dirt. It's not pull the stick out and you go here and then you pitch
at the yard marker out there. You go left.
Yeah.
And
the
then
big
you go
tree,
long.
turn around. Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not like us in the playground. You know.
Yeah. So it's just a little bit different there,
Mm-hmm.
but.
And I know it's deep into the season, but it's still first-year coach with first-year quarterback in a first-year system. Second year would be better.
Yeah.
I promise you. I mean, maybe they don't gain more yards or win more games, but no matter who the quarterbacks were, if it's Brady, no matter what. I mean, Brady had a lot of issues. Now I think about it. Brady and Arians weren't best buds that first year in Tampa. And I think they had a super late bye week.
They did, and they decided to let Brady just
right. You take it, because I mean that Patriot system he grew up in is way different than Arians' seven-step drop stuff. Right?
They were struggling.
And I think they just totally handed the keys to Brady. And
do what you do.
Yeah, and they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, right.
Do what you do. Do what you do best. And I think
the first-year clash isn't unusual.
Yeah.
Or just communication issues or whatever.
I've been at this long enough to know that. I mean, the only offensive coordinator that Ben Roethlisberger didn't have clashes with was Arians.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
Everybody else, there were always some kind of issue here, there bubbling.
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah, because you're a wild stallion. You just want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach is saying no. Or, early in Ben's career, he always balked at the game manager tag that was put on him early in his career. He's just a game manager.
Sure.
He's more than that.
He's more than that, but it's actually a compliment.
Yeah.
Mahomes has turned into a game manager. Allen's turned into a game manager. Brady's the best game manager ever.
Yeah.
That's a compliment. It doesn't sound like it's like possession receiver.
Yeah. No, I can get deep.
Right.
It was the Hines Ward thing. Hines Ward, you're just a possession receiver. No.
Right. Chain mover, Keenan Allen or type guy.
Yeah.
But no, that's a skill too.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be pigeonholed into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, I mean, I have yet to meet an NFL player who is not prideful about what they do.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Otherwise, they wouldn't make it this far.
Right. I mean, unless you're the most talented human being on the planet, and those guys don't last long.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
You gotta have
and
that.
And coaches are too.
Yeah, you gotta have that drive. You gotta have that fire.
Yeah. And just put hypothetical. You're Ben or Wilson or anyone. Brady, doesn't matter. Coach calls in a play. The protection is garbage. This outside linebacker that no one picked up drills you in the spine, and you get up and you're not so happy about it. And the ball comes out.
And you knew it was going to happen.
Right. And you knew that there was a good chance it was going to happen. Why'd we call that protection? And they scoop and score, and you're a bum.
Yeah.
Right. And that stuff happens every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And Matt, Kevin Patra on NFL.com has listed the it's more than one move, but things that every team in the offseason, and not including
I saw it.
the two teams in the Super Bowl.
Philly and KC aren't included.
So the 30 other teams, things that they need to attack this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And his number one goal for the Steelers is find some run stoppers.
There's a lot of directions you could go. That's a good one. And it's funny. I I saw the numbers on there, the Cam Hayward numbers, and I had those from weeks ago. I was curious where he got them from or what.
He might have got them from.
They might have got them from the stat.
Might have got them from Steelers.com because you wrote it. I wrote it.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers with Cam are really good versus the run. But when he's in the game, teams don't run as much. And when he's out, the numbers are pretty bad. I mean, just in a yards per carry situation. And I also did keep talking numbers. The Steelers' defense was right at the top of the league in interior runs. So teams are attacking you up the middle. And
because
I like
your team speed at linebacker.
I'd say that's part of it. And they're also not downhill hammers unless Roberts is in the game. They're more run and hit guys. And yes, nose tackle to me is, we talked about this a lot yesterday and for weeks. It would sure help to have a big time nose tackle to free those guys up. But it's also not the only problem. Like if you would have thrown Casey Hampton, well, that's probably not true. He was pretty darn good. But if you had just thrown Joe Blow nose tackle on this team, maybe the run defense would be better, but I don't know that it would have been solved, the best in the league all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But I think it's not a bad place to start on defense.
But it also, you gave up 3.7 yards per carry when Hayward was on the field.
Yeah.
Which is
great.
Among the best in the league.
Yeah.
So it does show.
And he plays a lot, but he just realizes how reliant you are on your great player.
And let's be honest, too, with some of those carries for when Hayward's on the field, how many of those are in nickel and dime situations when there's only two big guys on the field and you still only give up 3.7?
Or it's 3rd and 8 and there's a draw
and
for 6 or, we could get into a lot of numbers. And it's funny because I really started digging into my defensive stat pack today. Their numbers against rushing quarterbacks are insanely good. I mean, especially as scramblers, called pass plays. So they give up very few yardage, the best in the league by a wide margin on called pass scrambles.
Well, even in the game in the playoff game against Lamar, they gave up some yards to Lamar, but it wasn't big yards.
Right.
It was 4 yards. It was 3 yards. It was 5 yards. Now they were back-breaking yards.
Yeah, they were costly. Yeah.
But it wasn't like they gave up. Oh, he just busted off a 40-yarder on him. I mean, I can't remember what the carry. He had like 60 yards, but it was on like 14 or 15 carries.
Yeah. And the other thing too is Watt and Hayward are awesome players. I mean, I don't think you guys have to tune in for that one. And you cited the rush numbers when Cam's on the field versus not, but TJ played almost all of his snaps to the quarterback's right. The defense's left. And their numbers are a lot less or a lot worse when teams go off left tackle than off right tackle. And we cite Pro Football Focus.
Because he was awesome against the run.
Because he was amazing against the run. Like he set Pro Football Focus run defense edge records, for grades and things like that. So you have two.
But Matt, he had a down year.
Yeah, he's no good, right?
Yeah.
But you have two big-time players there. And I'm sure people are like, well, you can't be that reliant on those guys. Well, that's why they make $20 million a year or whatever, too. I mean, they're that kind of difference makers. Now, that doesn't mean Ogunjobi, Benton, Highsmith all stink, but they're to blame more than Cam and Watt. I mean, is a case for pass rush and everything, too, But I think that's reasonably fixable, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that Benton's a nose.
Yeah, I don't know that he is either. I think he would be better served playing defensive end. And when we've done our mock drafts, we take that nose, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, somewhere in there, and you can get good players. Remember, Javon Hargrave was a 3rd-round draft pick.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a true nose.
Not in the Steed Campton traditional sense, no. And I like Herbig a ton. I think Herbig's a wonderful player. But I think he can be run at, too.
Yeah.
I think people will target him. If he's on the field on 1st and 10, he's got to prove that he can take on left tackles and Darnell Washington types.
Yeah, that's why, the people, you just trade TJ or trade Highsmith because you got Herbig. There's more to the game than just rushing the passer.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. If you can't hit a curveball, you're going to see a lot of curveballs.
At the end of the day, Herbig's still a 240-pound speedball off the edge.
And that had to factor in the Preston Smith trade, too, because
Yeah.
that's not who Preston Smith is. I mean, he's the big lockout, strong power player, I think run defense isn't that far from being fixed, though.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, you ran into a team, if you took and you can't do this, but if you took the two games out against the Ravens, who were the best running team in football.
Yeah, and really hitting their stride.
You shut Saquon Barkley down.
Yeah.
I mean, their run defense outside of those 2 games was actually really, really good.
There was 2 miserable moments.
There were 2
one of them
really
were
bad
in
games.
the playoffs, obviously. And
you gave up
probably the 2 biggest games of the year, really.
Yeah, you gave up almost, you gave up 550 rushing yards in those 2 games, essentially. That
and not excusing it at all, but that's an awesome run game. I mean, when you factor in Lamar and Henry and the height of their powers, I mean, that's a special thing they got going on. I mean, but that's you play twice a year and sometimes 3.
Nobody was complaining about the run defense when they give up 69 yards to the Chiefs the next week.
Yeah.
They give up 68 yards to the Bengals the week after that. I mean, there was 89 to the Falcons. A pretty good run game.
Yeah.
64 to the Broncos, 61 to the Chargers, who at that time were the number
that's
one
all
run
they
game.
were doing.
Yeah, that's all they were doing. It was 57 to the Raiders, 54 to the Jets.
Okay. Breece Hall's a good player.
Breece Hall's a good player.
Their O-line was healthy.
60 to the Commanders.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels is a pretty good runner. 85 yards to the Browns, 93 to the Bengals. I mean, they had some really good run games in there.
The majority of them.
And even some of the ones that where they did give up 100 was 109 to the Cowboys, 104 to the Browns the second time around, 131 to the Eagles in that game. Like that's 50 yards under what Philadelphia averages. You had some good run stopping games there. You didn't have, for whatever reason, Baltimore schemed things up, and you couldn't stop it. But they had 2 legitimate 1,000-yard rushers in their
Hall of Fame runners in their prime, basically.
They had a 2,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard rusher in their backfield.
Yeah.
Essentially,
one of whom's the best rushing quarterback ever.
Yeah.
They're both going to the Hall of Fame is based a lot off their ability to carry the ball.
Based on knowing that you have to play them at least twice a year, and last year was 3 times, you better figure out how to stop that.
Oh, 100%. As do the Bengals and Browns, and that's a nightmare going forward.
Yeah. They held them to 124 yards the first time around on the ground.
Yeah, I mean Henry wasn't gashing them in that one.
No,
the first time around. What was I going to say? Oh, this sounds like an excuse, but it really isn't. I mean, their run defense was not good enough in these instances. Clearly. But I also think some fatigue sat in too. And when you start playing 3 games in 11 days, and then you're playing good team after good team after good team, I think that got the better of them. Now, I do think as a team, kind of the polar opposite of the Bengals, how they start the season, Tomlin needs to take a step back and be like, why aren't we finishing as strong as we're starting? I don't know the answer, and he may not know the answer, and there might not be an answer, but I do think that's something you need to look at. And time of possession is just so big for this team. And time of possession is a team stat. I mean, obviously getting off the field in the run game would sure help, but don't average 4 yards a carry either. Right. I mean, I can't stop talking about the voluminous running and all the stuff we've been talking about lately. Boost that run game a little bit better. Right.
You better average somewhere around 4.5 yards a carry.
Can't be at the bottom of the league.
Can't be at the bottom.
You can't.
Otherwise, what you're just pounding your head into the table.
Exactly. So it's somewhat of a team stat too. But yes, the run defense has to get better. And if I was Kevin Patra picking one thing to fix, I might take the run game, but the run defense was most notable as a national analyst at the worst times.
Yeah.
I can see why he did it.
Absolutely. But let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. This is the drive on the Steelers Audio Network, and I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it's time for a little mock draft action here, Matt.
Yep.
Kick off hour number 2, and I'm on the Pro Football Focus mock drafter because we can do player trades on here.
Okay, what are you throwing at me here?
I have traded
What?
to the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
Pick 163.
Okay. That 7th rounder?
No, that's a 5th round.
That was the 5th. Okay.
That's a 5th. I gave him a 5th. They're going to give us pick 202 in Cooper Kupp.
Sign me up.
They're bumping up 40
Not
spots in the draft.
Me, but fine. Sign me up. I like it.
All right.
I think they'd do that. I think if Omar called them right now, they'd say yes to that.
We now have
who have we signed since? Do we have a quarterback on the roster?
Of course we have a quarterback.
All right.
I'm not going to say which one. We have a quarterback in the house.
Okay. And I'm sure they would have signed more, but let's just operate under the Kupp and a quarterback are in-house.
In the house. Okay. So we are now up at pick 21. Well, Walter Nolan just went the pick ahead of us to the Denver Broncos.
Good, because I don't want to pick him every time.
Yeah,
for the
we got
next
to pick
3
somebody
months,
different.
Right, yeah.
So the guys available: Mykal Williams, Armand Membo, Jack Sawyer, Kenneth Grant, Matthew Golden, Amarian Hampton, Gray Zabel, Nick Scourton, Tyleek Williams, Josh Connerly, Jahdae Barron. We got 6 trade offers.
Grant is appealing. I know we have Kupp, but that doesn't mean you can't take Golden. I mean,
Right.
But Barron's real appealing. Too.
Barron's very appealing. We have trade offers from the Ravens to come up.
We don't really do business.
Don't
with
do
those
business
fellows,
with that.
But, right.
The Eagles pick 31, and then everybody else is outside of the first round.
I was hoping to go 5 spots. What are the Eagles offering?
All right. So the Eagles have picks 31, 63, 95, 168, 162, 166, 168. We're obviously they're going to want pick 21. We're going to want pick 31.
Yeah. We might want pick 63 too.
They would do that.
I would think that's a big jump in the first round. I want more than that.
I will toss in our last 7th rounder if they will give me
4.
I wouldn't mind getting something back in that 5th round.
That'd be fine. I would say 4, but the 5th round would be fine. We moved off of that. So a 1, 2, and a 5 for a 1 and a 7.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm worried we're going to lose out on our favorite dudes, but I'm in. There was at least 3 or 4 of my.
So that would give us 31, 63, 162 to go along with our 53, 85, 121, 202, 225.
It's a pretty nice stack draft.
We can
see what's sitting there at 31 though.
I'm going to offer that out there, and they accepted.
Okay.
All right. So the picks then after.
Can you see who they wanted?
They came up for Matthew Golden.
Okay.
Kenneth Grant went with the next pick. Then Gray Zabel, Mykal Williams, Nick Scourton, Amarian Hampton, Josh Connerly, Zach Sawyer, Jahdae Brown went at 29, Armand Membo. So the top players still available now. Tyleek Williams, Colston Loveland, Demetrius Knight, Trey Amos, Siobhan Ravel, Donovan Ezereku, Alec Yemenor, I should say, TJ Sanders, Jack Beck, Landon Jackson, Princely Prince Hugh, Jihad Campbell, Xavier Watts there, Tyler Booker there, Cam Scatabo. There's some guys there I'm interested in.
There were 2 corners, Ravel and Amos, right? The Mississippi kid.
Yeah.
I think they would both fit the bill. I don't know Ravel's medical at the moment. I'm not a doctor. I like Williams from Ohio State a lot at 31, not 21.
Yeah.
As your
it's
nose.
a little different, yeah.
It's a little different. I don't think he'd be in my, how we do our top 21 when we get down. I don't think he'd be there, but he wouldn't be far off.
Right.
And he's a good player, and he can rush the passer a little bit. He's a full-grown man. But we have extra picks.
We do.
Did you say Hampton's available?
No.
I couldn't remember. He went.
He got picked.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to the Rams, actually.
Yeah, okay. Those are my favorite names. An outside corner or the best remaining nose. Do you have any others you love?
The question then becomes, do we think we can get that nose later?
The answer is yes, but not as good a one, of course.
Do we think we can get that cornerback who's going to play more potentially?
Well, we have 2 seconds.
Right. But it's 53 and 63.
They're late.
It's the next to last pick in the second round.
And just because this is on a laptop and not the real world, it's really hard to trade up. I mean, if there's a guy that's fallen 10 spots, we won't be on it. No, the corner is definitely harder to find. I mean, there's no question about that. Curveball.
Yes.
I don't think I'd vote for this, but if Loveland's the best player on the board, and all of a sudden you have bonus picks, and you just want to get better at pass catcher. I mean, if it was a Penn State dude, you'd be running it up.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, Loveland hasn't shown that kind of pass-catching ability at the collegiate level. We do have 2 other trade offers.
I hate to trade down too much, but I would
want to see
certainly listen.
And it's the Bills. Yeah, it's the Bills and Panthers. And we're not going to trade down that far. That's silly.
If Panthers have to be close, though.
They don't have a second-round pick until 58.
Okay,
yeah.
Never mind.
So we're drafting a player here.
And, by the way, Kupp is closer to a tight end than he is to Austin, by the way. I mean, he's closer to Freiermuth than he is Austin.
Would you consider a Yemenor or Betch?
Not over the corners.
or T.J. Sanders?
I think he's too small.
Okay.
I don't think he's a Steeler.
Okay.
I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a Steeler.
Yeah, I think he's probably a little too late in the
Yeah.
piece. I think you take the corner.
Which one do you prefer? I'm fine with it. I mean, they were my three names I thought were clear.
I think Ravel is a big-time player. Just the injury question is there.
It's probably the only reason he's available.
Right. But he's another 6'2" cornerback that, I mean, his tape last year was awesome.
Really, really good, right?
You know, he was awesome to start this season until he got hurt.
I mean, if he's clean, folks, if he's clean at the combine, he could be the 15th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the player.
I think you're getting a gift here with him being available at 31.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the pick.
I would have considered him a 21.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah. All right, we're up again here. Top players. Jalen Walker, Dylan Sampson, the running back out of Tennessee. I think
I don't know enough about him yet.
Enough.
Yeah, I know he's smaller, but I haven't watched much of him.
Really fast.
I know he's explosive.
Yeah. Caleb Johnson, who we took yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Cal Kennard, Savion Williams.
Okay.
6'5" receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn from Kupp a little bit, and right.
Donovan Jackson, Derek Harmon. He's really not for me.
I wish you'd have been at the Senior Bowl because I could have maybe changed my opinion on him. I watched the playoff games loosely, and he didn't stand out to me. You know, and I was.
That's my biggest question with him is that if you look, he was at Michigan State, transfers to Oregon, and all of a sudden now he's rising up everybody's. Well, was he good because? Nobody was talking about him that way when he transferred from Michigan State.
Right. I mean, I know he had a good year and he's a good prospect, but he didn't blow me away on first blush.
Jordan Birch, the edge rusher out of Oregon. Cameron Williams, tackle out of Texas. Jared Ivey, the edge rusher out of Mississippi. Ozzie Trapillo, tackle out of Boston College. Darius Alexander, defensive lineman out of Toledo. We didn't take a defensive lineman.
I think he's my favorite D lineman you mentioned.
Just looking here, what else is it? Alfred Collins is there.
I like him as well.
Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Junkins.
We must have a pick here really soon again.
We got 63 coming.
Yeah.
So I think you take Alexander.
Yeah.
And then maybe go running back at 63.
Maybe keep your fingers crossed that Johnson falls to 10 more picks. And there were receivers of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go D-line.
All right, Darius Alexander it is. I really like him.
I like him a lot.
All right, we're back up now at 63.
And we can still take a nose.
Jalen Walker still there. Donovan Jackson still there. Ozzie Trapillo still there. Wyatt Millham from West Virginia. Sebastian Castro, the safety out of Iowa. Alfred Collins, the defensive lineman from Texas. Travion Henderson. Quinshawn Junkins.
If you had to pick between the Ohio State guys, who would you take? Junkins is much more Steeler-esque.
Yeah.
But I think Henderson's the better prospect. I don't think they would go that route, but it sounds like Johnson went from Iowa.
Let me see what the other running backs who's still available out there. We got another pick coming up at 85. Henderson, Judkins, Devin Neal is there. R.J. Harvey is there. DJ Giddens out of K-State is there. Damian Martinez, Rashard Smith, Jarquez Hunter is there. Trevor Etienne, Caleb Mullings, McGonaghy, Yarns Tootin.
Tootin's there still?
Yeah.
I'd have Tootin higher on that list.
He's a fumbler.
What's that?
He's a fumbler.
Yeah. Who's the receivers?
At wide receiver, you're looking at Jalen Royals, Isaiah Bond, Tez Johnson, Trey Harris, Jalen Knoll, Torrey Horton, I should say, Pat Bryant, Kobe Hudson, Kyle Nash.
I kind of like Royals and not any of the others, which makes me think if we don't do receivers soon.
Just take Royals?
I think.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. Jalen Royals it is.
I'm a fan. And I would look to running back here, but not married to it.
Yeah. The top players available here, Jeffrey Bassa, the linebacker out of Oregon, Elijah Araujo, tight end out of Miami.
That's just a weapon.
Yeah. Aziri A. Thomas, the cornerback out of Florida.
Ooh. He does always fall in these PFF ones, more than he should probably.
Yeah. Anthony Belton, the tackle out of North Carolina State.
I'm a fan of his, too. He might be a guard, but he was really good to Senior Bowl.
Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU.
Jason's kid, bring him back to Woodland Hills.
Devin Neal there.
Yeah.
I think you take Devin Neal.
Yeah.
There you go.
I almost said 3 seconds ago, hopefully Neal's still floating around. I bet the Ohio State guys are gone, but hopefully Neal's still there.
All right, so we are up at pick 121. We've got 4 picks left.
Okay, so we have,
Thus
including
far,
Kupp,
we've got Siobhan Ravel,
yeah,
Darius Alexander, Jalen Royals, Devin Neal,
and Cooper Kupp.
and Cooper Kupp.
All draft day stuff. A nose would be of interest. A slot safety would be really nice bonus prize with our extra pick here. I
We
wouldn't
could sign one of those too.
Oh,
those
yeah,
guys
yeah.
aren't expensive.
They're not hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, better than who was Channing. I mean, there's always slot dudes available. Never mind.
Quarterbacks of interest.
Quarterback's not a terrible call. With a bonus prize, I wouldn't hate taking a tackle. Maybe he's a guard, maybe he's a tackle. Just give me a surplus of young offensive linemen that everyone on the planet would love. So those are the directions I'd be looking.
Here are the guys that are available. Jalen Milroe.
If it was Fields and not Wilson, which we didn't specify, I'd definitely feel stronger about it.
Yeah. Jalen Noel. Still there.
That's a good player, too, but we're going to add 3 receivers to the roster in one day?
Jackson Dart.
I would definitely take him there. I really don't think that's
I think
cheating.
I think that's kind of cheating. Jacob Parrish, the cornerback out of K-State. Josh Farmer.
Ooh, we're talking nose.
Talking nose.
Just do it.
Yep. There you go.
I may have taken him last round if we knew we were there. Yeah, I mean, not that there's Royals a bad pick, but it's Farmer's you attacked your D-line.
Yeah. Now
you attacked D-line, you attacked receiver.
Now you've added 2 quality players in a quality defensive line draft. You're back up now at 162. Top players available: Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, Jackson Haas, the tight end out of Georgia Tech, the blocker.
Yeah, I like him.
Seth McLaughlin, center out of Ohio State. Thomas Fedone, tight end out of Nebraska. Cody Simon, the linebacker from Ohio State. Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State. Danny Stutzman, the linebacker from Oklahoma. He's a good player.
He's a good player.
Yeah. I don't know where he plays.
I think Roberts would probably be on the team by now, too.
Dorian Strong, cornerback out of Virginia Tech.
Another long dude, yeah.
Marcus Yarns, the running back out of Delaware.
I assume he'd be a kick returner, home run threat for you.
Jonah Monheim, the center out of USC. Emory Jones.
That's one of my favorite mid-round guys.
Offensive tackle out of LSU.
And I think he's only this low because people aren't quite sure if he's a tackle. I think he's a little over 6'4". He plays hard. He was in first-round buzz before the season started. Even if he's a guard, okay.
You just add him to the mix.
I think that's a pick.
Yep, I'm with you. You just add him to the mix.
Mm-hmm. That's a bonus prize. Thank you, Eagles, for the trade. We'll take one more O-lineman than we need.
Yeah. Now we're up at 202. Top guys available: Curtis Rourke, quarterback out of Indiana; Max Brosmer, quarterback out of Minnesota; Jamari Caldwell, defensive lineman from Oregon; Ty Felton, wide receiver out of Maryland; Tyler Schuck, quarterback out of Louisville.
I like Rourke and Schuck a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they're the next Roethlisberger, but I like
the upside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Been on the block, too.
Cam Horsley, defensive lineman from BC. There's another nose tackle guy that
we don't need 3.
We don't need another one.
Yeah, right.
Jamin Dumas-Johnson, linebacker out of Kentucky. Jason Marshall Jr., cornerback out of Florida. R.J. Mickens, a safety from Clemson. Did we just take one of the quarterbacks?
I said one of the 2 quarterbacks, to me, is the move.
Well, we took Schuck yesterday. Let's take Rourke today.
Okay.
Talk about tough guys.
Yeah, he played all year with a torn ACL.
And a winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
All right, we got 1 pick left. That's at 225. Well, Schuck's still there. Brosmer's still there. Graham Mertz from Florida. Cameron Jackson, the defensive lineman from Florida. Aubrey Banks, safety out of West Virginia. I'm just looking here.
That wouldn't be bad.
Montrell Johnson, the running back out of Florida.
So what kind of running backs are out there?
I think he's got some return ability in this new.
Running back with juice would be interesting.
I think he's got some juice. Yeah, he's kind of juicy. Donovan Edwards is still there, too. If you're just looking for a guy that's.
If you just want a returner / third down guy, he's an athlete. I mean, it's a 7th-round pick.
It's a 7th-round pick.
I'm fine with that.
I am too.
Yeah.
There it is.
I'll take that.
All right.
He's your third back at best, right?
Yeah. And there we go. We came out all right. We got an A- for taking Siobhan Ravel.
The grades.
Yeah. C- for Darius Alexander, but we took him ahead of where they had him ranked. Jalen Royals a B-. We got an A+ on Curtis Rourke.
Take a quarterback.
But we ended up with Siobhan Ravel after we traded down in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Alexander in the second round. Jalen Royals in the third, or actually with our second round pick.
Gotcha.
For moving back. Devin Neal at running back. Josh Farmer in the fourth round at
that's the steal of the draft.
Oh,
that's the value.
He's a good player. In the fifth round, we got Emory Jones Jr.
That's the bonus prize.
That's the bonus prize because we traded that fifth round pick to move up to go get Cooper Kupp, and then we got it back.
Yeah. I like it. So receiver, you had Royals and Kupp. Nice.
Curtis Rourke in the sixth round, and then in the seventh round, we got Donovan Edwards.
Mm-hmm. Little bonus prize, O lineman. Didn't go tight end, but went 2 D linemen and a first-round corner. I would take that.
I like the draft.
Yeah,
actually,
I would.
And
take
you got
that
Cooper Kupp.
And by the way, Cooper Kupp's in the mix, right? And I don't think he'd be expensive. I mean, we opened the show talking Cooper Kupp. I think that's not a crazy trade at all.
No, I don't think it is. I mean,
right?
Yeah, just the way.
I wasn't big on giving up a fifth.
We gave up a fifth, and we got a seventh back, and we were able to
throw them in for
actually.
Other stuff,
it ended up being a late six.
Late 6
is what we got back.
Okay, so they moved up around.
Yeah,
but moving up from 6 to 5 is a lot better than moving up from 7 to 6. Or I'd rather have that than a 7th round pick.
Yeah, we got it at 162. We were initially, it would have been, I think, a 163 or something like that. We got Emory Jones there.
Okay. Yeah. He may be a starter.
A big difference between what you were going to get in the 200s.
Yeah.
At the tackle position.
I mean, Jones might be your third tackle sooner than later. He might be Siamalu's replacement at left guard one day.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a valuable
valuable, highly recruited, upside type.
That was
player.
a really good offensive line at LSU.
Yes. Yeah. A couple of those dudes at Senior Bowl were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Frazier was the other one I liked a lot. The other guy I thought was junk. I forget his name, but Frazier was a tackle guard, interesting player too. Yeah.
Yeah, they grow them big down in Louisiana.
Yeah, they do okay. Will Johnson's going to go pretty high too.
Absolutely, but that's not a bad.
Yeah, I like that. That's maybe my favorite one yet.
That's not a bad build.
No, and Cooper Kupp has something to do with it. But
I also think moving back, once we saw the guys that were still available, where we would have had to have, I don't want to say reach, because once you get, as I always say this during draft time, once you get past those first 15 or so picks, the next 40 guys are pretty similar.
Right. Like I think I was leaning towards Grant at the time at 21, but Williams from Ohio State was there at 31. Yeah. And are they really that much different? Not 10 picks.
They're
right.
Either
they would
way,
both do the same
role.
They're
gonna play 20 snaps a game. That's what they are.
And they might be big upgrades and good players. You'd hope so, with using a first round pick on them. But they're not out there all the time.
Instead, we got a defensive end in the second round who's probably going to play some snaps for you this year.
Oh yeah.
And then we got Josh Farmer, who's
right.
Okay.
He may be your starting nose.
Yeah.
And Benton could do some, but you would think Benton would bump out.
You just really mixed up that depth. You get a lot younger on your defensive line.
You got a lot younger too. Right.
So.
No, I like that. That's probably my favorite draft so far.
Yeah. So we'll put that up on the YouTube page.
Project quarterback too. I kind of like that's sneaking around. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough guy too.
Yeah.
So
now I'd like to see one of those there's a handful of those quarterbacks I'd love to see ended up in Latrobe one day.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. Mr. Cat Fancy.
Oh, boy.
Mel Kiper has come out with his rankings at every position here. I thought we'd buzz through these here for this segment.
Yeah.
So at quarterback, he's got Shedeur Sanders number
1. He takes a lot of sacks. I just don't see special stuff there.
Either.
But he's accurate. He's tough. I don't know. I would go with Ward.
Cam Ward has number 2. Jackson Dart 3.
Okay.
Will Howard 4. Jalen Milroe 5. Kyle McCord 6. Quinn Ewers 7. Tyler Shuck 8. Dylan Gabriel, 9. Curtis Rourke, 10.
I don't have much complaints with that. I need to watch more McCord, but I don't think he's very athletic.
Yeah.
I think he's more pocket passer. Not that anyone's a statue at this point.
I mean, he had been at Ohio State.
Yeah. He had a really good year in Syracuse.
Yeah. But he had been at Ohio State with a bunch of really good receivers, and they couldn't wait to kind of get rid of him.
Oh, they were down on him.
Yeah.
I think he lost some confidence, and the change of scenery did him some good, too.
Yeah.
As it did Bo Nix, and,
The guys who just missed were Riley Leonard and Seth Hennigan out of Memphis.
He wasn't bad at Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At running back, Ashton Genty, Omari and Hampton, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, LaQuint Allen from Syracuse.
Oh, good receiver.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the Tennessee kid's that high.
Quinshawn Judkins out of Ohio State, Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, Caleb Johnson all the way down to 7.
What's the problem with him being so low?
I don't know. Cam Scattaboo at 8.
I'd have him higher, too.
Trevor Etienne out of Georgia at 9. Devin Neal out of Kansas at 10. I think that whole group is actually
it's really good.
Pretty talented.
I mean, if Neal's your 10th,
yeah,
most years he'd be like your 5th. Right.
The guys who just missed, and there's a bunch of them, R.J. Harvey out of UCF, Damian Martinez out of Miami, Jordan James out of Oregon, Brashard Smith out of SMU, Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech, and Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State.
There's some potential starters in that group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they just missed.
At wide receiver, Travis Hunter at number 1.
And say, where do you put him? You put him at receiver or corner?
Tetaroa McMillan at number 2, Luther Burden at number 3, Igbuka at 4, Matthew Golden at 5, Kyle Williams out of Washington State at 6.
I see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't blow me away.
Jack Betch at 7.
Okay.
8 is Jalen Noel. 9, Jalen Royals out of Utah State, who we took in.
He's now
10, Savion Williams out of TCU. The guys who just missed, Isaiah Bond, Tez Johnson, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, Alec Ayimanor out of Stanford, and Xavier Restrepo from Miami.
I have a feeling that group's going to grow on us more and more, and it certainly has during Senior Bowl week. It's pretty good. I mean, when we say it's a down receiver class,
it's just
because it's always up here.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have the I don't know what Travis Hunter is. I don't know if a team's going to allow him to play full-time wide receiver. If he's going to be a full-time wide receiver, is he going to be a full?
He's not Jamar Chase.
No, he's not. He's not one of the two guys that were at the top last year.
No,
as a wide receiver.
I don't know that he'd have gone ahead receiver only. Does he go ahead of Garrett Wilson when he came out? Maybe not. Right. Yeah. Hunter's a weird one though. Obviously,
we're going to skip over tight end, but it's a good group.
I think it's a very good group. Yeah.
We're going to skip over fullbacks and H-backs because I can't believe there's 10 of them on there. Offensive tackles. We can buzz through that real quick. Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly, Anthony Belton, Marcus Mbao, Ariante Ursary, Cameron Williams out of Texas, Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College, and Emory Jones out of LSU.
There's some guards on that list.
Yeah.
But I think those guys will start their career tackle, and then we'll see.
There.
Yeah. There's even people talking about Will Johnson being a center.
Yeah. Guards, you got Tyler Booker, Armand Membo, Gray Zabel, Donovan Jackson, Jonas Ivanea, Dylan Fairchild, Wyatt Millum, Tate Ratledge, Josh Gray, and Connor Colby out of Iowa.
Okay, I don't know Colby.
Centers, obviously the Steelers not any.
No, it's not a great center draft, and I think they're going to try to manufacture some centers like Zabel and right.
The defensive ends, Shamar Stewart, number 1. He's kind of the wild card of the first round.
Is he even ahead of Abdul Carter?
He lists him as an edge.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay, so ends and edges are different on this list. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Stewart's kind of the wild card of the first round.
Coaches are going to love him. I mean, scouts will be like, he wasn't that productive.
First guy off the bus kind of, look at this guy, and then he's going to blow up the combine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he'll go high.
His teammate at Texas A&M, Nick Scowerton, number 2.
So I was hearing some things about him. He played 15 pounds heavier at A&M. They want those big edges, the guy was talked about. Then he did at Purdue, but he was a lot better at Purdue. So maybe he's just a 4.3 end. Don't make him huge.
Landon Jackson out of Arkansas, who is a 4.3 end.
He had a good Senior Bowl.
Tua Maloa out of Ohio State. Jordan Birch out of Oregon. Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Savion.
First round buzz on him. I know he's a quality player, but that seems rich.
Yeah. Savion Jones out of LSU.
Savion Jones had a heck of a Senior Bowl. He's going to test like crazy. I don't know if he's stout enough to be a 3-4 end, but he's big. He's 6'5" and almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
He's an intriguing potential Steeler to me.
Baron Sorrell from Texas, Jared Ivey from Ole Miss, and Ashton Gillott from Louisville.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to say who goes to edge and who goes to end.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those guys are borderline.
The defensive tackles.
This is a good group.
Mason Graham out of Michigan. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. Derek Harmon out of Oregon. Darius Alexander out of Toledo.
Real quick on Nolan, I think it's going to be pretty clear that he's going to be the 2, which worries you. Can you go? Graham goes like 4 or 5.
Well, that's why I said a guy like Shamar Stewart, if he goes, somebody takes him instead.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They say, oh, we're good at what? Beauty's going to be in the eye of the beholder. Where was that? T.J. Sanders after Derek Alexander, Josh Farmer, Tyleek Williams.
Wow, it's pretty late for him. But
yeah, Alfred Collins out of Texas, Ty Robinson
on me too.
out of Nebraska.
Okay, they're all the top 10. They've just missed the
they
tackle.
Do. You're looking at Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, Deone Walker out of Kentucky, Jordan Phillips out of Maryland, and C.J. West out of Indiana.
West is a guy that I grab in mocks like in round 5 a lot.
Yeah.
He's a nose.
Yeah.
But that just missed list would all be top 10 guys most years.
Yeah, they're good. We're not going to do off-ball linebackers. Outside backers, you're looking at Abdul Carter, Michael Williams, Mike Green, James Pierce, Donovan Ezeroku, Prince Yu, Oladejo from UCLA, Braden Swinson from LSU, David Walker from Central Arkansas, and Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. That group there, those first 4 or 5.
I think they're all going in the first round.
And that's going to be do those guys help maybe push one of those defensive tackles?
I think you want them to go in the top 20.
Yeah.
It's funny. We were thinking the exact same thing. I was going to say, I think it was 4, and then I lost count. They're definitely going in the first round, but if they go in the top 20, yay.
Yeah, right. You're not in the market for one of those guys.
Same with the A&M dudes.
Yeah. Cornerbacks. Well, he has Travis Hunter on top, but he doesn't list him with the numbers because he counts 10 after that because he considers him a wide receiver first.
Okay.
And is he?
I think it just depends what team he goes to.
Yeah. Will Johnson from Michigan.
Okay.
Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky.
I like the way Kentucky churns out tough dudes on defense.
Yeah.
Too.
Then you got Jahdae Barron from Texas. Quincy Riley from Louisville.
Good Senior Bowl.
Azirie Thomas from Florida State.
Good Senior Bowl.
Siobhan Ravel, East Carolina.
Him and Morrison obviously are injury dependent. Trey
Amos from Ole Miss. Sebastian Castro at 9. Now he's a safety.
I was say, is he a safety?
But he can play the slot. He played a lot of slot at Iowa.
Do you know what his size is?
He's like 5'11", 200 pounds.
Okay, yeah. So he's kind of a jack of all trades.
I actually talked to him at the Senior Bowl. He's like 25 though. That's the.
It doesn't break your heart though.
No.
I mean, you get 4 years out of him, sending on his way, or I mean, I'm sure he's not DeJean, but he has the versatility, and Iowa guys are always NFL ready.
Then Noel Williams out of Cal.
Okay.
The guys who just missed, Darian Porter out of Iowa State.
He's got the Porter traits.
Yeah. Zay Alexander from LSU, kind of the same thing. He's like a 6'1" cornerback.
He was a big-time Shrine Game guy.
And then the little guy, Upton Stout from Western Kentucky.
I think he's like a Hilton type. He would fit in really well here.
Yeah, it's a nice group. Safety, you got Malachi Starks, Nick Emuari, Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State, Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, Andrew Makuba from Texas, Jonas Sanker from Virginia, Latham Ransom from Ohio State, Dante Trader from Maryland, Billy Bowman from Oklahoma, and Jalen Reed from Penn State.
Okay. I'd say safeties and off-the-ball linebackers are the positions I know the least about right now.
Yeah.
But there's those top 2 safeties could maybe go in the top 20. Starks probably will, and that would be good for the Steelers.
Yeah. Just looking at his top 25 overall, he has at 1, no surprise, Travis Hunter.
I get it.
2 is Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to fall far.
3 is Mason Graham.
Okay. I'm glad he didn't put the quarterback super high.
4 is Shedeur Sanders. As soon as you said that, there he is. 5 is Cam Ward. So he put him.
Gene T's a better prospect than Shedeur Sanders.
He has Genty at 6.
Okay.
7 is Teteroa McMillan. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't love that area of the. I think it drafts a little soft in those top 8-ish or so.
Yeah. 8 is Jalen Walker. 9 is Will Johnson. 10 is Tyler Warren. 11 is Will Campbell.
There's a lot of landing spots for Warren in the top 20.
Yeah. 12 is Shamar Stewart.
Okay.
13 is Colston Loveland.
A lot of buzz about him before. We just haven't talked about him lately because Michigan didn't go to the playoffs.
14 is Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas.
No short.
Michael Williams at 15.
Okay.
Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, at 16.
He's another medical.
Mike Green, the outside linebacker from Marshall, 17.
I bet he goes higher than that.
18 is Luther Burden.
Okay. Read something about him today, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I guess him and his coaching staff didn't exactly see eye to eye this year.
Didn't throw him the ball this year.
And I guess there's some effort issues on tape of not being thrilled with his situation, and that kind of adds up.
Yeah. 19 is Elijah Rojo, all the way up at 19. Three
Wow.
tight ends in his top 19.
Yeah, I mean, he's a weapon. I mean, he's going to be like an Evan Ingram type.
Yeah. Malachi Starks at 20.
I'd probably have him higher. I wouldn't ding him for being a safety.
21 is Nick Emiwari.
Oh, okay. Pretty high.
22 is Egbuka.
Mm-hmm.
Egbuka, I should say.
Nabucco, yeah.
23, Tyler Booker.
Pure guard.
Yeah. 24, Jihad Campbell.
Okay. You'd love a linebacker to go early. I don't know if they will or not. A true linebacker.
25, Walter Nolan.
Cool. I don't have a lot of comments on that. I mean, I keep hoping that Nolan doesn't get scooped up in the top 20. I mean, there's so much time between now and then. But if you're the number 2 D tackle with those traits, I just don't know that many teams can pass on him.
Somebody on the in the YouTube comments today, after seeing our mock draft yesterday, said that
we took Nolan yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you waste a pick on Nolan? The Steelers are just going to waste him like they did, like they've done with Keanu Benton. I'm like, he's not a nose.
And I don't think Keanu Benton's been wasted either.
No, I don't believe he has either. And he
Right,
played 60% of the snaps this year.
Right. His role keeps growing and growing.
And
right?
oh, by the way, he was a second-round pick. Walter Nolan, if you draft Walter Nolan, it's almost a Cam Hayward type situation where probably plays some for you this year, but he's going to play a lot down in future years for you.
Oh, yeah. He might be your next Cam Hayward. You're next to it. I mean, that's the goal here, right?
That's what you're trying to find.
Into that. Right. Yeah. I don't think you just need – he's also a very good run stuffer for an end. I mean, for a 3-4 end type guy. But he might be in your top 2 on a nickel.
Yeah, this is a guy who had 51 tackles last year, 12.5 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks, 17 pressures, 15 what they call run stops.
Okay.
I mean, he's a
5-star recruit with great traits, too. Yeah.
He just gets after it.
Yeah, I have no problem adding a talent like that at that position. Those type of players just don't grow on trees. That's a hard player to find.
Yeah.
6'5", with long arms and all that stuff that can do what he can do. And he's pretty polished. He's not like a raw piece of meat that can't do anything for you.
And the other thing I like about him is the motor goes. Like, you can't – that's the one thing that you can't coach on the big guys.
Yeah. And it's not uncommon.
He doesn't take plays off.
D tackles take plays off. Chris Jones take plays off. The best guys take plays off. And some of it's just conserving energy. Some of it's just I'm bigger and stronger than everybody else. I know I can throw him anytime I want, and I will when I feel like it.
Yeah, but
he plays hard.
This is a guy that goes hard all the time, and played a lot of snaps at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and he probably wouldn't as a rookie here. But maybe
he's capable.
But right.
He's capable.
Maybe he would.
It's not a projection like it was with the 2 Georgia guys that came out that are with the Eagles now. They only play 25 snaps a game.
Right.
Well, this guy's played way more than that.
Way more than that. I mean, the thing about Georgia, they just have too many good ones.
Right.
They have 3 first-round picks all in a rotation for a while.
Yeah. So.
No, I'm a fan. Big fan.
Those are Mel Kiper's rankings right now. Yeah. Obviously, those will get adjusted as we continue to get through this, and he continues to hear things.
Combine's not that far away.
It's not that far away.
Yeah.
Less than 3 weeks now.
End of the month, yeah.
So can't wait to get out there. But that's Mel's list. We're going to get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here in these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app, get the show there. And if you missed last week's shows,
Yeah, they're still
go
holding
back
up.
and
Go
listen.
check them out. Yeah.
They're still on there.
Mhm.
And, of course, you can also start watching it on YouTube. We didn't do any shows on YouTube last week because, well, we were in 2 different states.
Yeah,
that didn't help.
Setup wasn't exactly ideal.
No,
but
we are back on YouTube this week.
like our combine stuff, I think will be videoed.
We'll be videoed there, yeah. So you can, we'll be videoed probably from here on out. But let's get to a break. He's Matt. I'm Dale. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Andy Reid saying today at the Super Bowl, we haven't talked Super Bowl at all today.
No.
He's going to be back at least one more season.
Okay.
He's getting up there in age.
He's getting up there in age, but he's also not that far from some milestones, too. And, obviously Super Bowl wins, but like all-time wins and things like that, too. They're in striking distance. I mean, helps when you win 15 to 17 to 18 games a year in Kansas City, right, including playoffs.
Because you got the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, that helps as well.
That helps.
But Sando's article this week finished with that. Like, I think if he, at his Kansas City pace, if he puts in, I think it's 3 more seasons at that pace, he'd be the all-time winningest coach. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You win a lot of games.
Mason Crosby has retired.
Retired, yeah.
The Packers' all-time leading scorer.
I think it's like 17 years or something like that, too. Yeah.
Played a lot. Kirk Cousins, I guess talking at the Super Bowl, said arm injuries affected his play this year.
I saw that, and I think I kind of give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit because my co-host on the podcast was talking about it the first I heard it, because when Cousins cited it, from then on it was bad. I mean, like, there was almost a pretty – not that he was great before it, and I do think he's closer to being done than he is an answer for somebody, but there was a point where he cited he smashed up his arm pretty good that he didn't control the football at that point well at all. But that doesn't help him move in the pocket.
No,
that type of stuff's still an issue.
Thing, yeah.
Right.
And he said, I think I still have several good years left in me. I mean,
I'm kind of rooting for him. I hope he does. Someone's going to sign him to the Wilson deal, and we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hollywood Brown saying today that he hasn't considered his future and won't until after the Super Bowl.
He's a free agent.
He's going to be a free agent, yeah.
It's not really up to him.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it will be who he signs with, but
right.
I don't know if the Chiefs will bring him back or not. I guess they have him and Hopkins up.
Yeah.
And Rice is kind of hard to deal with, or hard to count on.
You don't know what's the situation is there. We haven't talked about the Raiders and Chip Kelly as their new offensive coordinator.
Right.
Now, he's been a head coach twice in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done this.
Well, he was OC for the Niners for 1 year.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, poorly. I don't know. I think the Raiders are all of a sudden a fascinating team, and they've been one of the least fun teams to talk about for 10, 15, 20 years. And I think there's definitely a Brady influence. And I'm glad they brought back their defensive coordinator. And Carroll's super interesting. And Kelly's interesting. And I think he has come to the conclusion that you can't run at warp speed and
110 plays a game at the NFL level.
But you only have 53 on the roster and you're on 5 stars everywhere. But he has the last we saw him as an NFL play caller was a lot of college stuff. And we just saw this with Seattle's offensive coordinator from Washington, who they just let go. It's almost 2 different games. You can't run college stuff on an NFL field with NFL athletes. I don't know how it's going to go. I know he's well respected.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, they're interesting.
Well, and I think a big disconnect with the college guys to the NFL game, and I mentioned this sometime in the last week, is that NFL defenses don't just play 2 or 3 defenses on the back end.
They're so good at disguising.
There's
deep playbook and right.
Like all those plays, why can't these guys scheme these things up like the college guys? Well, they know they're getting cover 2 or cover 3.
Yeah.
Nobody plays man.
Like an all-star game.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And the blitz packages and the protection. Like, I don't know this is a fact, but I'm not far off. Like, my years at Pitt, we ran more of a pro-style offense than most because Walt Harris was the offense coordinator with the Jets, and that was one of the allures. Is you're going from Pitt to the NFL is going to be easier for you than other schools. But I think we only had like 5 protections, Where next door they had 15.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They've got
that. You know,
that's what they do.
That's
their job.
Right.
You get the college kids for a couple hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to install, and quite frankly, you're getting kids from this Class A school, that Quad A. You don't know.
Oh, and all over the country. I mean, that's true at the NFL level too. But the offensive line room had 25 kids in it with walk-ons, and and where the Steelers had 9 during the regular season, or 10. Maybe 12 with practice squad nowadays. Now, right?
Even so, they've done a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and they're 30-year-olds with 2 kids at home and $10 million in the bank.
It's their job.
It's their job. Right. Right.
So,
and you need to have more protections. Like he used to do a podcast with Ross Tucker, and speaking of college stuff, one of the when he played for Washington, who's the Spurrier was his coach, and he's like, he's a great dude, but we run like 2 protections, and we run Florida protections, and we get destroyed because there's not answers to some of the blitz stuff in the college protections.
Let alone Aaron Donald or something like that.
Absolutely.
Some guy that's just better than everybody else.
One dude, right. And he's like, we did our jobs right, and we'd have free blitzers all the time. Like, this doesn't work.
Yeah. So that's a big problem with that. So we'll see if Chip Kelly is adjusted.
We'll see, yeah.
Adjusted.
I mean, I think he's worth another shot. But I don't think beating Ohio State's coordinator is all that difficult.
No, I don't think so either. Like he's the one guy's like bounced back and forth now.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're always good jobs. I mean, they're Oregon, they're Ohio State, they're head jobs, and he's respected. He must interview well.
Yeah. Well, I think his relationship with Pete Carroll when they were both head coaches goes back.
Pac-10 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was part of it.
I wonder if they'll be interested in the Ohio State quarterback.
Maybe.
Or Ibuka. You got an inside track on those Ohio State dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, there were more accusers for Justin Tucker.
Yeah, I think more and more are coming out, right?
And I can't get past the feeling on this, since these things are all like 10 years old.
Yeah.
You're telling me the Ravens didn't know anything about, they had no inkling whatsoever
Not one
about any of their stuff until
special teams coach or the punter or the
they might want to move on from Justin Tucker, and now miraculously this stuff comes out.
After his only bad year of his career.
Seems a little convenient.
Right. What's it, Shawshank, whenever he says, I find it rather inconvenient. Depends what side you look at.
Yeah.
But it certainly will make it easier to move on from him. And I think they were going to move on from him no matter what.
Yeah. Would have been, honestly, without this stuff, it would have been difficult for them to do that.
It would have. I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah.
That's an all-time great. I mean, maybe the Steelers someday will have that with Boswell. Like, he's so good, you can't just cut him. He's the best kicker in the league for a long stretch.
Mason Crosby.
And yeah. And eventually Father
Run out of
Time
steam.
Right. He was undefeated,
Vinatieri switched teams in his early 30s.
Yeah, and they made life easier on him, too. I mean, I know he's a hot-button topic around here because of the Hall of Fame stuff, but he didn't have to kick off at the end.
That voting takes place this weekend.
That's this weekend, huh?
If he gets in,
I think he's gonna.
My head is going to spin.
I know, and I don't blame you, but I think he's gonna.
I mean,
I forgot that's coming up.
Yeah, if he gets in, then we just opened the door for 12 other kickers who have been better than him.
Oh, if that's
including
the bar.
Steven Gostkowski, who kicked
replaced him
for the same team. The same amount of time in New England that Vinatieri was there, and he had way better stats than Vinatieri.
Our boy Chris Boswell's looking at it going, I hope he gets in, though, because my resume, when it's all said and done, might be better than his.
I have no problem with those guys getting into the Hall of Fame. I have a problem with those guys getting in over real football players, and that's my problem.
Tucker's my only one that I think I would definitely just check the box.
Well, this may change all that.
I don't think football matters.
We'll find out about that this year,
too.
Because
I think in the rules it doesn't.
There's a gentleman, and I'm not going to name any names, but there is a gentleman up for the Hall of Fame this year who basically murdered his wife back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And he has never gotten in because of that. And, well.
They say in the rules off the field doesn't matter for football, but it's still human people voting. Right. Yeah.
It's a Terrell Owens argument.
Yeah.
He didn't get in right away because, he did some crazy stuff off the field.
I don't think anybody was rooting for him.
Right.
Exactly. It's another bigger topic, but I also think it helps like the TOs of the world when you go from team to team to team to team to team.
No.
Yeah, who's staying on the table for you?
Absolutely.
Was the Niners guy introducing them?
I don't
Maybe,
know.
but
Yeah.
probably didn't have great memories of him at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's show. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the soundboard, and, well, we didn't use the Justin Miller hotline today, but
We will tomorrow.
we will tomorrow. And for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out there on YouTube. Check that out there. You can leave us comments and tell us how dumb we are. I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.